Hello, eternal beings. Today, in this video, we will talk about what famous personalities has said about Bhagwad Gita. And we start with Albert Einstein, theoretical physicist and a Nobel Prize winner. He said, "When I read the Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how God created this universe, everything else seems so superfluous." Hermann Hesse, poet and a Nobel Prize winner, said, "The marvel of the Bhagavad Gita is its truly beautiful revelation of life's wisdom, which enables philosophy to blossom into religion." Mark Twain, American writer, he said, "So far as I'm able to judge, nothing has been left undone, either by man or nature, to make India the most extraordinary country that the sun visits on his rounds. Nothing seems to have been forgotten, nothing overlooked. Land of religions, cradle of human race, birthplace of human speech, grandmother of legend, great-grandmother of tradition. The land that all men desire to see. And having seen once, even by a glimpse, would not give that glimpse for the shows of the rest of the globe combined." Rudolf Steiner, Austrian philosopher, he said, "In order to approach a creation as sublime as the Bhagavad Gita with full understanding, it is necessary to attune our soul to it." Max Müller, German philologist, he said, "It cannot be denied that the early Indians possessed a knowledge of the true God. All their writings are replete with sentiments and expressions, noble, clear, and severely grand, as deeply conceived and reverentially expressed as in any human language in which men have spoken to their God. If I were asked under what sky the human mind has most fully developed some of its choicest gifts, has most deeply pondered on the greatest problems of life, and has found solutions, I should point to India." Aldous Huxley, English writer and philosopher, he said, "The Bhagavad Gita is the most systematic statement of spiritual evolution, of endowing value to mankind. It is one of the most clear and comprehensive summaries of perennial philosophy ever revealed. Hence, its enduring value is subject not only to India, but to all of humanity." Ralph Waldo Emerson, American poet and philosopher, he said, "I owed a magnificent day to the Bhagavad Gita. It was the first of books. It was as if an empire spoke to us. Nothing small or unworthy, but large, serene, consistent. The voice of an old intelligence which in another age and climate had pondered and thus disposed of the same questions which exercise us." The Bhagavad Gita is an empire of thought, and in its philosophical teachings, Krishna has all the attributes of the full-fledged monotheistic deity and at the same attributes of the Upanishadic Absolute. Werner Heisenberg, German physicist, said, "Quantum theory will not look ridiculous to people who have read Vedanta." Wilhelm von Humboldt, Prussian philosopher, said, "I read the Indian poem Bhagavad Gita for the first time when I was in my country estate in Silesia, and while doing so, I felt a sense of overwhelming gratitude to God for having let me live to be acquainted with this work. It must be the most profound and sublime thing to be found in the world." Henry David Thoreau, American naturalist, he said, "In the morning I bathe my intellect in the stupendous and cosmogonal philosophy of the Bhagwad Gita, in comparison with which our modern world and its literature seems puny and trivial. I would say to the readers of the scriptures, if they wish for a good book, read Bhagavad Gita, translated by Charles Wilkins. It deserves to be read with reverence even by Yankees. Besides Bhagavad Gita, our Shakespeare seems sometimes youthfully green. Whenever I read any part of the Vedas, I have felt some unearthly and unknown light illuminated me. In the great teaching of Vedas, there is no touch of sectarianism." Arthur Schopenhauer, German philosopher, he said, "In the whole of the world, there is no study so beneficial and as elevating as that of the Upanishads. It has been the solace of my life. It will be the solace of my death." Warren Hastings, former Governor General of India, he said, "Bhagavad Gita is a performance of great originality, of a sublimity of conception, reasoning, and diction almost unequaled, and single exception among all the known religions of mankind, of theology accurately corresponding with that of the Christian dispensation, and the most powerfully illustrating its fundamental doctrines." Hermann von Keyserlingk, German philosopher, he said, "Perhaps the most beautiful work of the literature of the world." Adi Shankaracharya said, "From a clear knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, all the goals of human existence become fulfilled." Bhagavad Gita is the manifest quintessence of all the teaching of the Vedic scriptures. August Wilhelm von Schlegel, German poet, he said, "Bhagavad Gita is the sublime reunion of poetic and philosophical genius." Charles Johnston, Irish writer, he said, "The Bhagavad Gita is one of the noblest scriptures of India, one of the deepest scriptures of the world, a symbolic scriptures with many meanings, containing many truths, that forms the living heart of the Eastern wisdom." Albert Schweitzer, theologian and philosopher, said, "The Bhagavad Gita has a profound influence on the spirit of mankind by its devotion to God, which is manifested by actions." Jacob Wilhelm Hauer, German Indologist, He said, Bhagavad Gita is a work of imperishable significance that offers not only profound insights that are valid for all times and for all religious life. Annie Besant, the former member of the London School Board, she said, Bhagavad Gita is meant to lift the aspirant from the lower levels of renunciation where objects are renounced to the loftier heights where desires are dead and where the yogi dwells in calm and ceaseless contemplation while his body and mind are actively employed in discharging the duties that fell to his lot in life. Mahatma Gandhi said, When doubts haunt me, when disappointments stare me in the face, and I see no torn ray of hope on the horizon, I turn to Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me, and I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. Those who meditate on the Gita will derive fresh joy and new meanings from it every day. Jawaharlal Nehru said, the Bhagavad Gita deals essentially with the spiritual foundation of human existence. It is a call of action to meet the obligations and duties of life, yet keeping in view the spiritual nature and grander purpose of the universe. Swami Vivekananda said, the Gita is a bouquet composed of the flowers of spiritual truths collected from the Vedas and the Upanishads. Sri Aurobindo said, the Bhagavad Gita is a true scripture of the human race, a living creation rather than a book with a new message for every age and a new meaning for every civilization. And lastly, Erwin Schrödinger, physicist and Nobel Prize winner, he said, most of my ideas and theories are heavily influenced by Vedanta. The unity and continuity of Vedanta are reflected in the unity and continuity of wave mechanics. This entirely consistent with Vedanta concept of all in one. Vedanta teaches that consciousness is singular. All happenings are played out in one universal consciousness, and there is no multiplicity of selves. Nirvana is a state of pure, blissful knowledge. The ego or its separation is an illusion. The life of yours which you are living is not merely a piece of this entire existence, but in a certain sense, the whole. Only this whole is not so constituted that it can be surveyed in one single glance. This, as we know, is what the Brahmins express in that sacred mystic formula, which is yet really so simple and so clear. Tat Tvam Asi. This is you. Or again, in such words as, I am in the east and the west. I am above and below. I am this entire.
Myths are not stories that are untrue. Rather, they are tales that don't fit neatly into the historical record, which serve as a foundation to a culture. 5,000 years ago, in ancient India, the royal lineage came into conflict over who should ascend to the throne. Two sets of cousins each believed they were the rightful heirs. On one side, the Pandavas, consisting of 5 noble brothers. On the other, the Kauruvas, the 100 sons of a blind regent. Unable to agree on a ruler through peaceful means, the factions go to war. With the battle lines drawn and the armies mustered, it seems impossible to tell which side will win. But the Pandavas have some special help. The battlefield was a fearsome sight to behold. Drums beat, conch shells blared, and lords and kings shouted orders. Elephants adorned in gold trumpeted amidst gleaming chariots, with each convoy the size of a small city. Armor glittering with embedded gems blazed like fire in a rainbow of battle standards. But as the two mighty forces stood ready for war, the Pandava prince Arjuna faltered. For when he looked out at the two armies, he did not see foot soldiers and archers and charioteers, but fathers, grandfathers, teachers, sons, and friends. But Arjuna is not alone. Alongside him, disguised in the form of a mortal companion and charioteer, stands the god Krishna. Arjuna tells Krishna that when he sees his family ready for war, his knees go weak and he can't stop shaking. There is conflict in his very being. As a prince, he wants nothing more than to fight and win. But as a man, he can't see what good can come from killing his own family. He drops his weapons and weeps. And Krishna cannot help but laugh. This is precisely why he's come to this battlefield, to guide Arjuna to a higher path. A smile on his lips, Krishna explains that there is a divine self, eternal and untouched by the physical world. It is never born, and it never dies. And it is not killed when the body is killed. Just as we change clothes, the divine self changes bodies. So Arjuna should not worry about fighting his family, for their true essence cannot be killed. And seeing how this wisdom begins to calm Arjuna, Krishna continues, revealing many more truths about the universe. He explains that those who make sacrifices in their life simply to gain pleasures in the afterlife are misguided. The ultimate spiritual pursuit, he says, should be to detach oneself from material things and dedicate oneself to their dharma, their inherent nature in the universe. And Arjuna's duty, Krishna points out, is that of a warrior. His purpose in life is to fight for what is right. Now at this point, Arjuna, admittedly, is a little overwhelmed and tries to wrap his head around it. But how can you demand that I act if you believe that enlightenment comes from detaching myself from my actions? Knowing this question was coming, Krishna tells him that he must not act for his own personal gain, but for the welfare of the world. Desire, he explains, is the obstacle to seeing this, which invades our senses and clouds our intellect. Then Krishna mentions that he's incarnated on the earth for a reason. And whenever there is an imbalance in the universe, Krishna says he manifests himself there. And it was after all of these knowledge bombs that his buddy was dropping that Arjuna started getting an inkling that something otherworldly might be up. So he boldly asks Krishna who he really is. Krishna responds that his current form is made of the 5 elements: earth, fire, water, air, and space, as well as mind, intellect, and ego. You know, earthly, mortal things. But he also has a higher nature, a true cosmic form. Planets spin in the heavens, the seasons change. There is an unseen force that makes things happen, and Krishna is that force. He is the heat in fire, the thought of thinkers, the splendor in the splendid. Of animals, he is the lion. Of birds, he is Garuda. His true being is formless and infinite. Arjuna's mind, having been so thoroughly blown at this point, then asks Krishna if he can see this true cosmic form. Krishna agrees, but due to the fact that Arjuna's eyes are bound to the physical world, Krishna gives him divine vision so that he can truly see. Blazing like 1,000 suns, Arjuna sees infinite mouths, eyes, and limbs, shining with jewels, draped in celestial robes. Thousands of arms raising thousands of divine weapons, and a body anointed with the perfume of the gods. Krishna's eyes were the sun and moon, and all of space and time, beyond heaven and earth, were filled by the body of Krishna. And terrifyingly, Arjuna could see all of the enemy soldiers on the very battlefield where they stood, rushing into Krishna's many-fanged mouths to die. Previously, Arjuna had worried about the battle because of the consequences. But Krishna showed him that the battle was already over and his enemies have already been slain. Krishna had already accomplished everything, and it was simply up to Arjuna to act according to his dharma. On the spot, Arjuna bows and swears fealty to Krishna. Then, due to him missing his human friend, and frankly being terrified of this new form, he requests the return of the visage of the man he knew before. I see. Would you mind going back to your old body? 4 limbs is plenty. Returning to the form of his old gentle self, Krishna then implores Arjuna once more to fight, but also reminds him that ultimately the choice is his alone. Upon hearing this ultimate mystery, Arjuna feels his fear dispel. Knowing now of the becoming and unbecoming of all creatures, and trusting in the divinity of his companion, helping actualize his dharma, he is ready to fight. Arjuna squares his shoulders, takes a deep breath, and looks deep inside himself. He considers all that he has learned from Krishna, and then looks outward to the resplendent battlefield, the sights and sounds returning to him. Yes, he is a warrior and a prince. This is where he belongs. And so confident in who he was and his role in the universe, Arjuna led his troops into battle with newfound wisdom leading the way and complete faith in his heart.
But I wanted to talk to you about when you mentioned, because I came back to this because this was the initial statement that was like, I need to get to know Will. Mm-hmm. And it was when you said that you were channeling your inner Arjun.
Yeah.
And you said that, and I was just like, what? I was like, it just, two of my worlds collided.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Fresh Prince every day. Mm-hmm. I knew every pickup line. I used every pickup line because of you. I bought the bad boy suit. Yeah. Like, you know, for me, it's like, that was my teenage years.
Yeah, that's genius.
I watched Bad Boys for Life for the 7th time on the way here today to Dubai, because I thought I was like, it's offensive to watch any other movie. So I've been a big fan for years. Then I go off, be a monk, I come back, and then I'm in the world, and then I see you say this, and I'm like, what? Like, to me, it's just, and obviously getting to know you after that has made me go, okay, God had a plan, and this is all, you know. But tell me about why Arjun as a character for you has been, because you even, and I think this is because of you and your storytelling, you even brought Arjun in my life more to life. Mm-hmm. So tell me a bit about why Arjun was so synonymous with you. And
you know, so there are figures in spiritual texts and just in general for human beings, you know, being creatures of example, and there's, you know, probably for 5 or 6 years before Arjun, I just was stuck on Abraham. I just loved Abraham's life, right? And I was following Abraham, and on his, you know, on his deathbed, he gets up to wash the feet of the guests in his house. You know, just stories like that, you know, just really stuck with me. So then I started reading about Arjun, and the circumstance that he was in, for people that don't know, Arjun is in a battle. His family has tripped out. He's a wonderful archer. He's the best archer in the world. And his family trips out and take the kingdom. And they're like, you know, they snatch his wife, and they're trying to disrobe his wife. And he's looking like, yo, what are y'all jokers doing? Like, and he comes home and he's like, and they seize the kingdom, and he can't believe that they have done this. And he, you know, he's a warrior, and, you know, he could get the kingdom back, you know, but these are his uncles and his brothers-in-laws and his teachers and people that he loved and trusted, and they took his kingdom. And they prepared an army, and they're going to fight Arjuna, and he's devastated that his family and his friends and all of that for material gain would do this to him, and he's deeply pious. And they prepare an army, the greatest army that's ever been assembled, except that they don't know that God is driving Arjuna's chariot. right? And they think they're going to tear through Arjuna, they're going to do all of this, but God is driving Arjuna's chariot, right? And even in that, you know, Arjun, he's like, how can me killing all of my family be the right answer? Right? And on the other side of that, he's like, well, I'll just let them kill me. I'm not doing that. There's no version of me going into battle with them. I don't care how wrong they are. I don't care. And as I just got deeper and deeper into that story, it's like, I feel like that all the time, right? I feel like I'm in what Radhanath Swami referred to as a perplexing situation.
Always.
Always, right? That I feel stuck in a perplexing situation with people I love where there's not clean answers, right? And I always feel strong enough, like if you want to fight, we can fight. I know how to fight, but how can that be the right thing, you know? And I just really related to how the Gita handles those kinds of perplexing situations and recognizing that's what life is. You are born into a perpetual perplexing situation. And that it was the first time that I'd ever heard the spiritual idea like that, that life is a perplexing situation and you're never going to get around being stuck in the duality. You have to elevate above the whole thing, you know? And the Christian concept about that I always heard and never understood fully. And my grandmother would say all the time, you got to let go and let God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was like that. It just, you know, the Gita filled in that concept of what it really means. It doesn't mean don't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let go and let God doesn't mean don't do anything.
Yeah.
It means do your divine duty, whatever that may be. And just for whatever reason, the study of the Gita at this particular point in my life really clarified a lot of ideas of how to move through a world where you almost can't do it right.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like there's God's playing a practical joke, right? And when you start seeing, you know, that there's a trick in there, you know, and the Gita illuminated that trick for me in a way. I was like, how could I be the biggest movie star in the world, be the best at all of this, and how you not love me? Right? And, you know, how was my family miserable? And it's like, that's the trick.
Yeah.
You know, that's the practical joke.
That's beautifully explained. Because it's the perception of the right reaction.
Yes.
That's where we get lost, is that for us, going back to what you said at the beginning, you were like, there's no such thing as a bad experience.
Right.
We're looking at the result of our activities as a signal of how well we're living.
Yes, absolutely.
And that messes us up because the result of your activities is not under your control.
Yes, absolutely.
And so if you're living your life based on the result of your activities being a signal that you're successful, you're setting yourself up to, and all of us do it all the time.